We're back. You are chatting with John P. Today is a special episode because we have the famous Federico from Federico Talks Watches. You can't see it here, but we did roll out the red carpet for him here in this shared studio. But today's a special day because what we have... Oh, by the way, how are you?
Can't complain. Can't complain at all.
We're so busy here at Del Rey Watch, delreywatch.com. I'm sure Federico can attest to that. And, we thank you guys so much. It's really fun working with you and trading watches all day. How's everything going at Del Rey Watch?
It's been kind of hectic in a good way. Not very many nights of long sleep, but things are moving out the door. That's all we can ask for. Pretty
cool.
Happy.
What do you have on your wrist?
I'm wearing the newest watch to my collection. That is my Habring Messina Lab Friends and Family Edition. Only 20 made.
Very cool watch.
Deadbeat second. Yeah, just a very cool 1940s inspired dress watch. What about you, buddy?
Nice. Vintage IWC 666 Ingenieur stainless steel. Minty crisp museum quality, as I've been trying to use the term. Love this watch. I think it's pretty underrated. But what we're going to be talking about here today is different watches that are not Rolex, that all deliver a lot of great value and something in some way that Rolex just does not have in their product line. Now, you look on YouTube, look on the internet, everyone's talking Rolex, and I can't say that I hate Rolex because we do carry Rolex and people love it.
I own Rolex, and,
Right.
But it's just the days when a Submariner, a pre-owned Submariner is like 12 grand. And a pre-owned OP is like $7 grand.
A little bit less at Del Rey.
Well, a little bit less. But, it's time to start exploring options.
Absolutely.
That
And you can
point.
see we do the same with our collections as well, even though you also see us making videos where we are wearing Rolex. So got a couple watches here. We'll just go one by one. There'll be an overlay here so you can kind of see the hands-on here with us. I'll talk about it, and we'll get Federico's opinion as well,
Sure.
and share with you the features from these watches that you just can't get in the Rolex lineup. First, we're going to start with a Grand Seiko Spring Drive GMT. This is the SBGE 205. I absolutely love this watch. Grand Seiko has been doing some very interesting things, including with their movements. And I'll say that in the past, when Grand Seiko wasn't really in the US market, I wasn't a big fan, but today, because of the type of dedication that they're putting into the quality and the materials, I think it's difficult to beat a watch like this at this price point. I'll hand it off to you. What do you think about this Grand Seiko?
Listen, Grand Seiko, I've been making a lot of videos praising them. I think they're pretty fantastic. This particular watch, has some positive and negatives. Listen, the finishing is fantastic. The Zaratsu polish, much higher quality than a Rolex. GMT, so very similar to a Rolex. Spring Drive, which is more accurate than Rolex, but at the same time, let's be honest, I'm not the biggest Spring Drive fan either, so that's my negative. Listen, it's different, but it's still on a bracelet. It's almost like if the Rolex made a GMT Datejust. But I just think it's nowhere.
I was just going to say that.
Were you?
It's missing the GMT bezel, but it looks like a Datejust, but it has that second hand.
I just think you're getting a ton of quality for, the under $5,000 price point. So about a third of the price, 1/3, 33% the price of a Batman.
Retails.
Market price, because it retails, but 33% less. I mean, listen, the quality, whether you like it or not, the quality is there. What do you think, brother?
I would absolutely have to agree. And I'll actually jump into the next Grand Seiko because this is a Grand Seiko that everyone talks about, everyone loves. This is the Grand Seiko Elegance Blue Snowflake, or they call this, I believe, the Skyflake, right?
Skyflake, yeah.
I love this, and there'll be a video here where you can see the dial, because I think the dial on this particular watch, and this is another spring drive, by the way, a spring drive movement, which Grand Seiko has been focusing on, a little bit more expensive than their automatic movements, or most of them, but nonetheless a different technology. We'll talk about that maybe later or another video, but this dial is something that you cannot get from the Rolex lineup.
No, and this is where Grand Seiko shines. Their crazy dials and their attention to detail. I mean, the hand-polished hands, that's a little bit of like a tongue twister. The unique dials, once again, what they call the Zaratsu polishing. It's just the details are much more refined than what you would find in even the highest-end Rolex. But, of course, it is a Grand Seiko. And for some people that isn't an issue, and for some people it is. I don't know. I just think they offer a ton of bang per buck, as I said with the last one.
I also agree, and I do think, I honestly love what they've done with these dials. They're textures, but they're flowing, they're fluid, and it's not mechanical like a lot of textures. You have like the Code Stage and Ev on some watches, and it's very rigid and structured type of texture or finishing. But when you look at the dial on a Grand Seiko, right, they're unique and they're fluid, and it just kind of keeps your mind guessing. It's not predictable. But Grand Seiko is a brand that is growing in prestige when it's hitting the U.S. market.
Massively so.
So I think in the coming future, maybe, I don't know if you agree, but we'll see these go up in desirability, collectability, and prestige.
I do think so as well. But not all of today's Grand Seiko. We're moving away to other brands. What do we have next?
Next, we have the Girard-Perregaux Laureato this is the 42, I believe, right?
That is the 42, yes.
This is the 42, and if you've watched this channel, you know that I owned the 38. Someone wanted it. And so I sold it out of my collection to them, and I've been missing it ever since. But no one buys the 38 because it's a little bit smaller for most people. So they haven't been floating around, but a 42 came in. We got a couple of these. I think that when you put this up against an AP, Royal Oak,
very similar, or
even a Patek Philippe, Nautilus, or Aquanaut, if you want to get risky with what we're saying here, and we do at Delray Watch,
absolutely,
it's one of those watches for a fraction of the price, and the finishing of the movement is almost there compared to Patek, but it's there for AP.
Listen, I think the only thing, but we're not talking about AP and Patek, we're talking about Rolex. I think the only thing in which Rolex is superior in this compared to this watch is its durability. The Rolex is a true sports watch.
That's true.
It's very tough. And also the clasp has better micro adjustment. But this is just a finer watch in every other way. The finishing is better. The dial is better. The movement is more prestigious. And it's better decorated. This is a much higher end watch than a Rolex. And I think it's selling for about half the price of a Submariner.
And the reality is Rolex just doesn't have a comparable watch to this in their product lineup.
Not at all.
All the others do, but they don't have the integrated bracelet design.
Once again, Rolex is Rolex, but Girard-Perregaux's no slouch. This is not a we hate Rolex video. It's a, hey, take a look at what you can get for under Rolex.
That is a good point. That is a good point.
And that's, I think this is killer.
But my inner criticisms of the Rolex brand currently, or at least what I see in the comments below, so make sure to leave below the fact that you love Rolex and will buy nothing else. Love to see it. I think that's coming out in some of these examples, but really cool watches and the recurring theme of value compared to the brand. Next, we have a watch that I know you love. I'm going to hand this off to you because I know that you love this brand. This is a brand that was not respected for watches for a long time, but they were respected for their pens. Now they've done so many great things with the watches.
A brand just doing some massively amazing things in the current market, and that is Montblanc. This is the Geosphere, 3 time zone date, ceramic bezel. What can we say? This is one of their kind of mid-range models, so it is a modified ETA movement. However, it has a fully in-house custom module. You can see the time for the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, the date. Montblanc also owns the Minerva factory, some of the finest chronographs in the world. They're making perpetual calendars. Listen, I think this, which I don't remember the price of, but we're probably selling somewhere in the 3s, right?
Probably.
Not only gives you an extra time zone that the GMT doesn't have, so this Trek's 3, the GMT Trek's 2, but it offers a level of complication that Rolex doesn't offer as well. And once again...
And the cardinal directions on the bezel. Where are you going to get a Rolex with cardinal directions on the bezel?
It kind of looks like a Rolex a little bit with the chamfers on the lugs. It's very pre-ceramic Rolex. It is a ceramic bezel. Listen, once again, a fifth the price of a Rolex, but fits that sports watch mold to a T. That's my opinion on this watch. Is it as high-end as a Rolex? No, this one probably not. But when it's a fifth of the price, can't really complain.
You don't have to be worried about denting it or dinging it, because I'm in this Clubhouse app. Federico's on Clubhouse as well, and there's been so many different conversations with watch collectors, and there was a conversation called "What do you do when you ding your watch up against something. And it was unbelievable because I really heard a lot of people that are really, really scared and upset because they buy the Rolex. They're like, well, I'll sell it for more later. But then they ding it on their car door and it's the end of the world because it ruins what they conceive to be their strategy.
If you're that upset about dinging your watch, you shouldn't be wearing that watch.
Yeah. Or, if that is you, get something a little bit more approachable and beat that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And lastly, we have something that's a bit of a Rolex Daytona alternative. It's not the Zenith, because the Zenith, you can't get it.
It's also too easy to call.
It is too easy. But this is very cool because it features a metal that Rolex does not use, titanium. This is a Brigade Transatlantique, and it's the Type 20.
Type 20, titanium, carbon fiber.
Beautiful. Tri-register, date window at the 6 o'clock.
Daytona doesn't have a date. Daytona doesn't have a turning bezel.
Doesn't have a carbon fiber dial.
Doesn't have a carbon fiber dial, even though the Daytona is a column wheel chronograph, and this is cam operated, based on a Lamania. But once again, this is probably an eighth the price of a Rolex.
And this is an old world brand.
It's an old world brand. It's Brigade.
And what I love about this, because I have smaller wrists, so I like lighter watches. This is a titanium chronograph that's about the size of a Daytona.
Just about. Yes, sir.
And I can't feel it on my wrist.
It's super light. It's durable. Once again, it's Brigade, and it's about a seventh or an eighth the price of a Daytona. Listen, this is just about the time where I drop the mic when it comes to I don't know. It's a killer deal.
Any last words on this? Because I know that you really do love Brigade. Fed and I both have Brigades, but Federico is a #1 advocate of Brigade.
I love Brigade. Listen, the history on this, based on French aviation, it's got a military history. It's a chronograph with deep roots, just like the Daytona. People don't really know Brigade as a sports watch brand, and yeah, I can kind of see that, but it's a little bit of a shame because this Type 20, it's just a fantastic sports watch. It really is, and for the price point, kind of hard to complain.
Listen, you're selling me on this watch.
Dude, we'll give you friends and family price.
And where is that at again?
DelRayWatch.com.
Anyway, guys, once again, this is not Rolex bashing. We both own Rolex. We actually have some subs in stock, some ceramic subs.
But I think it's our horological duty. Because we go, you guys don't have Rolex, that's why you're not talking. We have Rolex. Go on Del Rey Watch, buy your Rolex. But it's our horological duty to inform people on what else is there on the market.
There's more to life than Rolex sports models.
Thank you. Just like there's more to life than pizza, there's more to life than Rolex sports models.
There's going to be a pizza guy out there that is going to destroy you in the comments.
Does it look like I don't love pizza? I
personally hate pizza.
How are we business partners?
That's how it works.
Anyway, it's our duty, so go check them out. DelRayWatch.com. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thanks again to Federico for jumping on camera. It's always difficult coordinating, but we got him on here for you. Check him out, Federico Talks Watches, DelRayWatch.com, Instagram, The Real John P, Instagram, Federico, Clubhouse, all those places. Thanks, guys. You've been chatting with John P. Ciao.
Take care.